Hello and welcome to everyone watching. I know this is the first scripted video I've done in a while, but I thought if I was going to use a script for anything, it might as well be this. By the way, if you haven't watched SCP Overlord yet, stop watching this, go watch it, and then come back and finish this. Trust me, it's worth it. SCP Overlord is a short film set in the SCP universe, created by Evan Royalty and Stephen Hancock. The duo have previously created live-action SCP content with SCP Dollhouse, but Overlord is by far their best effort yet. And since the film leaves a lot of things up in the air, I thought it would be fun to dive into SCP Overlord and either explain or clarify as much as I can for those who aren't really all that well versed in the SCP universe. Also forgive my voice, my throat's currently being fucked by something, I'm not entirely sure what. Anyway, that being said, let's begin. Before I start, I would like to give a brief summary of the SCP universe, since I have never really talked about it on the channel. So, the SCP universe centers around a mysterious organization known as the SCP Foundation. The Foundation tasks itself with tracking down and containing paranormal or anomalous entities, referred to as SCPs, in an effort to prevent their existence from becoming public knowledge, and to study them for the Foundation's own benefit. To accomplish this, they typically utilize mobile task forces, different units of Foundation operatives that specialize in containing anomalies in differing environments or scenarios. The mobile task forces given focus in Overlord are Epsilon-6, codenamed Village Idiots, and Nu-7, codenamed Hammer Down. Epsilon-6 specializes in containing SCPs in suburban or urban areas, whereas Nu-7 is essentially the SCP Foundation's own private army. Okay, with that out of the way, let's actually talk about the movie. SCP Overlord centers on a joint operations task force between members of Epsilon-6 and Nu-7 as they conduct a raid on a New England commune that is occupied by an anomalous cult who have seemingly vanished, only leaving behind a bunch of floating people in the sky. So yeah, it's definitely an SCP. Now, it's kind of difficult to clearly define certain things in the film for a couple different reasons. For one, the SCP depicted in Overlord is completely original to the film, so there isn't some obscure article on the SCP Wiki to fall back on for research. Secondly, most of the information presented about the cult and the SCP is intentionally cryptic and vague, but I will do my best to clear everything up. The film opens with our main character, Kalinsky, a member of Epsilon-6, as he is investigating a large hole in the ground, tossing a glow stick down it to see how far it goes, and apparently it is very deep. After this, we are introduced to the rest of the cast, and I really enjoy the dynamic between all of these characters. Though I have to admit, the masks make it kind of hard for me to understand what they're saying sometimes. After a brief interaction, the team continues to advance on the commune, finding two things of significance before reaching the commune itself. The first is a collection of missing persons flyers, posted along the MTF's path, clearly a sinister taunt from the cult, letting the MTF know that they're coming. The second is a burning effigy depicting a large creature holding up a bunch of people by its appendages. Keep this thing in mind because it's going to come up later. The team finally reaches the commune to find many a floating person. Anyway, Nu-7 sets their security around the perimeter and Epsilon-6 breaches the commune to investigate. Once inside, they find some guy in the middle of performing some kind of ritual. He goes for a gun and they promptly cap his ass. And it turns out this guy was the leader of the cult. Kalinsky is very confused by this behavior, as none of what the team has encountered aligns with the cult's public beliefs, at one point even stating that it's like the cult's ideology has completely flipped. The rest of the team brushes this off though as they continue the search of the commune. Kalinsky finds a camcorder that allows the team to peer into a kind of pocket dimension, allowing them to see strange symbols plastered along the walls of the commune. While using this camera to search the house, Kalinsky sees a creepy figure move out of frame in the corner of a room. He silently calls up the homies and they breach the room to find it empty. The team chastises Kalinsky until the team leader gets his throat slit by an unseen force. While Kalinsky and a few others move him into the next room, outside, a member of Nu-7 gets yeeted into the next life, with the Nu-7 team leader investigating only to find another hole, like the one from before. Back in the commune, the Epsilon-6 team leader has died. To the surprise of no one, seriously, that dude got fucked. But then, something opens the door to the room that the squad is in. They raise their weapons, but see nothing. Kalinsky picks up the camera and realizes that, like the symbols throughout the commune, the only way to see these creepy bag-faced motherfuckers that are attacking them is with the camera. The rest of the squad realizes this and proceeds to pump the walking nightmare full of lead. They encounter another one of these fuckers downstairs and continue to run its fade as well. Okay, now we get into the really weird stuff. The team breaches the basement of the commune to find a recording left by a jaded cult member before he took his own life. The recording basically amounts to, "This isn't what I signed up for, fam, my homies have indeed fucking lost it." After which a random door opens and the team trains their weapons on it. By the way, the camera is now being held by a different character named Bassan at the moment, not Kalinsky. I'm not sure why the camera was handed off, but whatever. Bassan points the camera at the open door and whatever he sees causes him to violently convulse before he shoots himself in the fucking face. At this point, the team makes the shockingly correct decision to get the fuck out of the commune as Kalinsky picks up the camera from Bassan's body and leaves. Once outside, Kalinsky uses the camera while looking up at the floating people in the sky to see that they're not actually floating. Rather, they are being held up by giant tentacles likely attached to an even bigger creature. And with that bombshell of an ending, the credits roll. Okay, so the tentacles are obviously coming up through the holes in the ground. Though the entity might not be using all of them because we saw Kalinsky drop a glow stick down one, and it didn't hit anything, and it's very obvious that even though these things are essentially invisible, they can still interact with the real world, and people in the real world can still interact with them. Given these subterranean holes, I'm led to believe that this SCP might be moving just below the surface of the commune, or maybe it just has a shitload of tentacles and picks and chooses which ones it wants to use. And the entity seems to be able to influence the beliefs of people to a certain degree. I'm thinking this weird looking thing in the closet is the bas-relief that the jaded cult member was talking about in his suicide message. Perhaps it's some kind of artifact that allows the entity to influence whoever comes in contact with it. And as far as that ritual that we saw the cult leader performing earlier, given that the name of the cult is the Church of Unification, I can only assume that the ritual is what turned these people into these creepy baghead fuckers, and I'm assuming it helps them in a way become one with their overlord. Gotta be real though, I still don't know what happened to Bassan. I don't know, maybe he got throat fucked by one of the tentacles, who knows. Anyway, that's all I got on this film, at least for now. Like I said before, it's really vague and it's hard to narrow down a lot of things. But hey, I hope I was able to clear some things up for you if you were a little confused. This short film was fucking awesome, and I can't wait to see what these guys do next. Naturally, I'll leave a link in the description so you guys can go watch it for yourself, and I'll leave a link to Evan Royalty's YouTube channel so you can check out more of his work because most of it is pretty fucking sweet. I'm sorry I haven't really been posting consistently. My life over the past couple months has just kind of been a clusterfuck, but hey, it is what it is. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like down below. If you're new to the channel and you like what you see, do your boy a favor and subscribe. It truly means the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see all of you in the next video where I will hopefully be able to fucking talk. Have a nice day.